Hi, hello. I hope you're doing well. Since summer has started and there's a massive heat wave going on, I built this seaside bungalow. So if you would like to build something similar yourself or see how I built this, here's a speed build of it. I'll go through everything I did. And if you're interested in more housing inspo or news, feel free to subscribe. I post new builds every single week, and now that we're getting the import and export tool, I will definitely be posting a lot more builds and sharing those with you. To begin with, in every single build, I really like to make a layout of some sort, like either I make it in paint or I just make it with beams. So here you can see that I kind of made the layout of the house first. It's pretty important in these circle rooms to have a plan what you're going to be doing with the space, because they are fairly small rooms, and then like when you're building a whole house inside one of those rooms, it will take a lot of space, so it's very important to plan ahead a little bit. Another thing I do is I use the beams usually to make some sort of a floor plan as well, and then I like to use furniture, not the furniture that I will keep in the build, but just some sort of furniture to have an idea how much space it will take and what I actually want to do with the space. For this build, I knew I wanted to build a bungalow, and I really wanted to have this like deck area with like some breakfast, some sun loungers, and then I knew that the rest of the room would be just water. I had some ideas how to make like the ripples and like sort of the sun hit the water, so that was like my main focus for this build. I really wanted there to be a lot of water and then just this cute bungalow. So yeah, not much to go off of, but I think it turned out pretty good. And my inspiration for this was the Bali bungalows, like those water bungalows. That was the main inspiration for this build. I also have been dying to try out those empty canvases to just have like white walls, and this was the perfect opportunity to do that because it's kind of like this off-white color. So I decided to have a few rooms with some of that white wall, and then the rest of it honestly is just beams. I used a lot of beams for this build. At first I just used them to map out the area, but then I kind of realized like these actually fit fairly well for this build, so I just kept them and I think it works out pretty good. And as always in my speed builds, when I'm just placing some beams down or doing something very simple that you can just watch, I will be yapping. So this time I will be yapping about my guildmates because I went on holiday last week. My boyfriend and I decided to actually drive to southern France from Belgium. So we first drove all the way to Switzerland to Bern, and that was a really pretty drive. I really enjoyed it, and Bern was lovely. I really wanted to go to Bern for a long time. Bern was such a beautiful city, and like Switzerland all in all was one of the most gorgeous places I've ever been to. I actually got to eat my favorite cheese in the city or the village where it's being made, and that was like a bucket list item for me, so I'm super excited about that. Truly, I think that that's one of my highlights of the year because I really love cheese. And then we were driving through the Alps as well. We were driving on the sides of the mountains, and like that's such an experience for me as a Finnish person, since we have like Finland is like flat, and where I'm from, it's just like straight up flat, like only fields, nothing else, and like forests. So mountains are like incredible to me, and I was so excited to see them, and I got to see Mont Blanc as well, and that was so cool. I'll add some pictures while I'm talking through my journey and the holiday as well, so you guys can see. It's the tallest mountain in Europe, and it really was tall. Like it was like incredible. It didn't feel even real looking at it. And yeah, I am so glad we got to see that. And then afterwards we drove to Marseille in southern France, and then we ended up going to the guild meet. We ended up going to Nice to pick up a few people from the airport, and then we went to the city to meet our friends, and we ended up getting actually fined because the app where you buy tickets for the trams did not work. And another tram driver told us that our bank card would work if we just scanned it in the tram to pay for the tickets, but it did not work. And then we got stopped by guards. They like literally surrounded us. It was very scary, and it was a very expensive tram journey, but it's a funny story now. But yeah, then we met up with our guildies and we got to spend the most lovely couple of days with them. We had this really nice Airbnb with a pool, we were cooking together, we were playing a bunch of games on the Switch like Mario Kart and also Smash, and it was so much fun. I really enjoyed our time, and I got to see my friends I hadn't seen in like 4 years and a couple of new faces as well, so that was super lovely. It just was so warm though. Like, it was so hot where we were staying. It was like 34 degrees at least every single day, and now 34 does not feel that much anymore since I'm home, and they have predicted it to be 39 degrees on Friday, which is absolutely crazy. Like, it's gonna be 38 degrees for the rest of the week here, and I am so not into that. Like, I am so not a fan of that. At least we had AC at the guild meet and we have AC at home, so I'm staying cool. The dog is staying cool as well. Leo is doing fine. And I'm just trying to drink enough water because I've had a headache because of being dehydrated for like the last week or so. But yeah, I hope you guys are staying cool in this heat wave as well. It's been truly so brutal in some places, and I am very ready for this to pass. But yeah, all in all, I've had a lovely week. It was so much fun to see my guildies, and I actually baked with one of my guildies. She taught me how to make burger buns, and then we also did face masks as a group. It was super fun. Like, we were all just hanging out and vibing. It was so much fun. Some people were playing the Slay the Spire board game as well. That was fun to watch. We also ate a lot of good food. Some people in our guild are just truly so good at cooking. I am not one of those people, but they cooked up a storm and it was so yummy. We also ended up playing Werewolf a little bit. I had watched people play it before, but I had not ever played it myself. But this time I did, and honestly, I'm so shy. Like, I generally don't talk much when I'm with people. In a group setting, I struggle talking sometimes. So I just don't ever talk, so that everyone thinks that I'm being so suspicious by not talking. But I was the werewolf like only once, and like there was no difference in the way that I was acting like ever. And it was so funny because every single game people would be like, "Oh, you've been so quiet, that's a bit suspicious." And I was like, "I'm just always quiet. Like, I'm just a villager. What do you want me to do? Like, there's nothing I can do. I'm just a poor villager just trying to get my day's work done, and I'm just here. Like, there's nothing for me to say. I'm just me. I'm quiet always." And it was so suspicious. But yeah, I was the werewolf only once. I was actually the werewolf with my boyfriend, and we did end up winning. So, you know, that was good team effort. Honestly, my boyfriend kind of carried that. I did make one risky move, like that ended up paying off. So that was decent. Like, that was better than what I ever did in Among Us, because I am hopeless when it comes to lying. I'm hopeless when it comes to keeping a poker face. Like, so bad. But yeah, it was like all in all just a lovely week with some of my favorite people, just really good weather, really good food, just had a really, really good time. That was so needed as well. And of course, while we were there, the new patch 12.1 got announced, and we were all very hyped for it. We were all reading the patch notes together and all of the new things. And of course, everyone was like, "Oh my god, housing things!" And they kept telling me about like the import and export tool, the pets coming to the builds, like you can have your companions roaming free in your build, all sorts of new housing things, like there's new dice as well. Just a lot of info and new things coming. So I think what I'm gonna be doing is making a video and just like listing all of the new things coming to housing in 12.1 at some point when it's a bit closer to the patch. But yeah, that's pretty much my updates for the past week. I wanted to post this video actually before I went to the guild meet, but I didn't quite manage to finish it. And that was good because we got a patch when I was already at the guild meet, and that had a bunch of new items that actually ended up looking really good in this build. So yeah, I'm curious, do you guys have any fun plans for the summer? I'd love to hear about them. I still have one more thing that's planned, and I'm gonna be talking about it in a few weeks when it's already happened. But yeah, I'm very, very excited about it. As you can see, the house is pretty much now finished. Like, there are some little things I still need to add, but mostly I'm just decorating right now. And I really enjoyed decorating this house because I got to use items that I haven't really used before yet in housing. And honestly, the color palette is something I love. I love this like teal color. I added a bunch of oranges and like red tones as well. And then of course this sort of like natural white color. I actually know that it's very bad, but I did not include a bathroom or a kitchen in this build. I just wanted it to feel kind of like hotel-like, or like it's like rented, or you know, those holiday bungalows like on the water in Bali. Like I assume that there's not like a proper kitchen in there. Of course they probably do have a bathroom, but like I just thought that I would, like I imagined that there would be a bathroom like somewhere behind, and it's not a part of the actual like where there's a bathtub. But the real reason, of course, is that I don't like building kitchens and I don't like building bathrooms in this game for whatever reason. But I thought I would ask you guys actually, now that there is the import and export tool coming, is there something specific that you would like to see me build and share with you guys once that tool is out? Because I really want to build more so these like smaller room builds until then, and not build as big builds or like complete builds. I tend to make just these full like house builds, and that takes a lot of time. And I would like to make some smaller builds and focus on that a little bit, and maybe share some of those with you once they are done, because I think I'm going to be wiping these builds completely still, and then I'm going to just build small rooms in both of my houses, so I am ready to share those with you once, you know, the tool comes. My goal, of course, since the beginning of housing has been to provide a place for role players, for example. So I would love to build things like a tavern or an inn of some sort, or like a church, places that you can think of like when you're role playing that you might need. And of course, like for your guilds or whatever, for like specific, like some occasions. I don't know. That's kind of been my goal with building. Like I made the pirate ship, like that's for like roleplay purposes. And now that the import and export tool is coming, I really want to focus on that as well, and like provide some fun spaces for people to use in roleplay, and just to kind of like support their character fantasy. I just really feel like storytelling is a big part of housing, and it really makes the space feel alive. So it's something I would really love to focus on again a little bit more, because I feel like housing kind of has been more lonely. Like many people have said this to me, that housing is very lonely and there's not much to interact with. So now that we're getting pets added to the houses, and you know, they will definitely bring some more life to the builds. And now that we can share builds as well, it's going to be much easier to have these sort of events and like have spaces for people. So yeah, I just really want to focus on storytelling a little bit more again, and I am wondering if there's anything you guys would love to see. But okay, now I will stop yapping and I'll actually talk about this part, because this is me making the water, and I got a lot of questions about this on Instagram. So as you can see, I use the circle rugs to make the water, and then I'm using these elegant wall drapes to make the ripples, or like the waves. I used actually 3 different dyes for this as well. So I was trying to make some of the ripples feel like, you know, they're like the highest ones that the sun hits, so they are very bright, and then there are a little bit darker ones. And I think that it ended up looking really good when paired with the fountains, actually, because they end up kind of like distorting the waves in some ways. And then there's of course the little splatters like coming from, or splashes from the fountain. So it kind of does look like, you know, when the sun hits the top of the waves. So that was my idea, or my thinking with this, and I thought that I would just explain that a little bit. You can kind of see the vision come to life here. And the gnome is just, you know, my guildie who was at the guild meet. I made that before the guild meet actually happened, so I decided to leave him in my build, because I was like, that was the vision for the guild meet. You're just like laying on a floaty, you have a drink in hand, and you're just vibing and, you know, napping there. So yeah, that was the vibes, and I decided to leave him in the build. I so wish there was a way to kind of fade the line between the wall and the floor. I tried to kind of lift the carpets up, but there always was a line up there, and it was super frustrating. So I just decided to do a slight tilt on the carpets on the back wall, and then that's all I really did. I didn't like end up making this like super high forced perspective thing. But I think it works when you're looking at this space from inside the house or even the deck area. I actually have no idea how many like elegant wall drapes I ended up using, but it was a lot. I had to go buy more a couple of times actually. And honestly, I think I could have added a lot more than I did end up having like in the end to make it look even more realistic, but I had to think about my gold situation a little bit, which is not looking too hot right now, and there's so many new items coming soon-ish, TM, so you know, I don't wanna just have like a billion elegant wall drapes in my my storage, so I ended up just going with like enough of them. It was definitely enough, like you'll see soon how many I ended up having. I did cut off a little part of this and I did not record the entire process. I included most of the footage that I had of this, but I ended up doing a lot of it off camera as well because it did take actually a really, really long time. It was also very tedious, so I was thinking like, no one probably wants to see me do this. And then I also finished the decorating off camera as well because I am trying to keep the length of this video fairly reasonable. But yeah, now it's time for me to walk you through the entire finished build. So here we are at the entrance of the build. It's just this tiny little entrance, nothing special. And then here we have a little coffee area, and this is like open on both sides, so there's a little shelf there on the other side. But yeah, I wanted to add this sort of tiny coffee area that you see in hotels often. Then here is the living space and the house itself. Really, there's like only this room and then the room with the vanity and the bathtub. And then of course there's a beautiful view behind, well, behind my character currently. But yeah, I just thought I would show some details. And here's the view. You can sort of see the vision with like using the fountains there, so you can get that ripple effect or like the effect of the sun hitting the waves. So that was my idea with that. I think it worked out pretty good. But yeah, here is the bathtub. I used a square rug for like tiling sort of. And then here are some details for the vanity. I understand the sizing is a little bit weird, like the blood elves are fairly tiny and the vanity is kind of high, so you know, sometimes the scale in this game is a bit off. And then there's a little fan up at the ceiling, and then some more of the living space. I added a bunch of details. I really like the tiny little trellis things on the windows as well. It just adds some visual interest. And then here we have the water and of course the gnome. So here you can see a little bit closer the effect of the water. I think it looks better definitely from further away, but yeah, I think this is the best I could do right now with what we have. I would love to see them add like water into the rooms. There's the breakfast area, and then here I added a tiny little fishing area actually after they added a bunch of items in the most recent tiny patch to the neighborhood like vendors. So yeah, and those lanterns are from there and that rope is from there too. I think it added a bunch of cute little details to this build as well. And I know there's some items coming in the shop that will work pretty good. And then here is the sun loungers, is that what it's called? Like sun chairs thingies. But yeah, here's some extra details for the water. You can kind of see how sometimes the fountains distort like the edges of like the curtains that are like the waves, and then of course the splashes are like the highlights of like the tops of the waves is what I'm thinking. And here we can see once again the interior of the build. I really love how this turned out. I hope you guys enjoy it too and like it. I would love to see if you guys build something similar or something inspired by this bungalow, or like have water effects or any tips for me to make better water effects. I would love that. But yeah, thank you as always for hanging out with me. I'll see you in the next speed build, and as always, happy building!